Welcome to episode 130 of the Quest Lore series, A Kingdom Divided. To start this quest you must have completed X Marks the Spot, Client of Kourend, the Queen of Thieves, the Depths of Despair, Tale of the Righteous, the Forsaken Tower, the Ascent of Arceus, and the Architectural Alliance mini-quest. Outside the Kourend castle, you speak to Martin Holt, who's holding a protest against the Kourend Council. To recap on how the council came to power, at the death of the last king 20 years ago, the council were to temporarily rule until the king's daughter Rose came of age. But conveniently, they claim that she went mad and they have been holding power uninterrupted ever since. Supposedly they're a democracy, but the same four people have won every single election. After the Queen of Thieves quest, there was the discovery of Councillor Sophia Hughes' corruption. She was spending taxpayer money on behalf of the Kourend Council to a Zamorakian cult known as the Disciples of Yama. She was arrested and imprisoned, but unfortunately she has now escaped and the council isn't commenting on the issue. Martin's plan is for you to infiltrate the council. Currently the Royal Guard are leading the investigation at the command of Lydia Fuller. She tells you that Martin Holt used to work for the council that he now hates so much. Commander Fuller fills you in on some of the positives of what has occurred since the Kourend Council have taken over. Port Piscarilius used to smell 10 times worse until the council had a new sewage system installed, so now it's cleaner and safer. The council are the ones that opened up the Great Kourend to the lands to the east. You would have never stepped foot on Zaya if they hadn't opened up some trade routes. As your neutral third party in this whole debate, you offer to help capture the escaped councillor. At Councillor Sophia Hughes' house, you investigate. Upstairs, in the eastern room, you search the drawers, finding a receipt for a bed at the Deeper Lode in Loverkenge. Outside, near the rosebush, you speak to Thomas Lowry and put him off track by telling him that you found a clue linked to Mount Quidamortum, so he departs in that direction. At the Deeper Lode, you talk with Fuggy and ask if anyone has stayed in a bed here recently. Only one woman had been there the night before, and she mentioned catching Veos' ship at Port Piscarilius the next day. Then an earthquake happens, which comes from the volcano to the west. Cabin boy Herbert says that Veos was just there until that earthquake happened, at which point he wandered off in a trance. As Councillor Hughes hasn't boarded yet, you and Commander Fuller wait until she comes. Councillor Hughes says that the council were happy with her work while it was a secret, but now they've betrayed her without a second thought just to protect themselves. She calls upon Yama and you hear a demonic voice heeding her call. The demon says Sophia has betrayed Yama, and then she's possessed and transformed into a demon called the Judge of Yama. He sends waves of fire towards you, which you avoid, and then attack him. With the Judge of Yama defeated, Councillor Andrew thanks you for your help, although it's still unknown how Sophia Hughes escaped. Councillor Andrew wants Martin Holt and the protesters to go home, hoping to put the whole situation to an end. Commander Fuller tells you to meet her just south of the castle. She's questioning her position as commander of the Kourend Council. Behind the scenes, Councillor Andrews has blamed her for what happened in Port Piscarilius. Fortunately, they're not paying too much attention to you at the moment. Commander Fuller believes that Rose is still alive and finding her may be the key to the truth. Martin Holt may know where she is. Rose was known for being a good writer, even at a young age. She documented everything she did and wrote her father's memoirs for him. To summarise the Kourest memoirs, it details King Kourest and Rose's journey visiting the Five Kingdoms. Firstly Hesidius, and an inquiry to one of the gardeners to see if he knows more than just how to revive and restore plants, maybe alluding to being able to give more life to the king. In Piscarilius, the king humbled himself and Rose by wearing the garments of the common folk to blend in and to get to know them better. They saw a flute player playing a golden flute, but then there was a physical altercation that the king tried to stop, but he suffered a minor injury, a slice of a blade. Maybe the blade was poisoned, causing his health to deteriorate more quickly. Then, at the graveyard of Shazian, there was a gravedigger who spoke to Rose, hinting that below the ground there may be something to do with life and death. This could be what's learned during the Garden of Death quest. In Loverkenge, a necklace was gifted to Rose, and the king is seen taking sips from a flask imprinted with an X. He's been acting strange lately, reading a lot in the study and appearing more and more tired. Lastly, in Arceus, where they heard about the secret of immortality, the people have given up what mostly makes them human to be able to live forever. The king says that he was going to go out, and Rose managed to disguise herself and hide in shadows following him. She sees the king bowing down before a hooded priestess. She asks him to drink more from the vial. Light bursts from his eyes, pain cutting across his face, and he falls to the ground. The priestess looks directly to Rose and she awakens in her bed screaming at the nightmare of what happened, quickly writing everything down. She believes that just after the king's killing, the council will declare her unfit for rule and whatever form of sanity that she has left will wane. She thinks she is just a pawn in the game and that the read of this diary may be one also. The only other writings are in Rose's personal diary, which is in the Archaeus Library's historical archive. You speak to Archaeo and are teleported to the historical archive. There you pickpocket Historia, getting a bluish key. In the southeastern corner of the room, you open the display case and find Rose's diary. There's nothing immediately important in the diary, so Martin cuts open the cover and a note falls out. It hints towards a ruin. Martin says that you should split paths as the council is most likely keeping a watch over them. You go to the Four Frost ruins, northwest of the Woodcutting Guild, and meet Martin, asking him about his time working for the Koren Council. He said he was young and naive. The tipping point for him was when a donator came along, given a lot of money, wanting to improve the level of education of the people of Port Piscarilius in hopes of reducing the crime there. But the council only used a small fraction of it for that purpose. The bulk of the money was used to renovate the castle in hopes that they would generate more money through tourism. Ever since that day, he's decided to be against the council. Him and Commander Lydia used to be together, although she decided to stay with the council and their differences made them part ways. In the ruins, you search stone piles, finding 4 numbers corresponding to the 4 letters of the name Rose. You cut some vines and find a panel, unlocking it with the 4-number code. There's a new clue pointing towards the settlement ruins just southwest of the Wintertodt camp. When speaking with Martin Holt, an assassin appears, marking him for death. He thinks the council sent the assassin. The panel here looks like it can be opened by a key. You cast a firebolt on a chunk of ice, which melts it, and you find the key for the panel. The next riddle hints towards the legless fawn in Port Piscarilius. You're wondering how Rose was able to set all of these riddles at such a young age, just 11 years old. Martin Holt says not to underestimate her. At one point the council had thrown children in prison because a gang of thieves was making use of them. Commander Fuller was one of them before she joined the Royal Guard. Climbing the worn out column, upstairs the panel hints at an order of houses. After pushing in the 5 panels of the statues in that order, the panel upstairs is unlocked. When you go to read the next clue, Thomas Lowry arrests Martin Holt. In a little house just northwest of the Farming Guild, by the bed you find a tatty note written by someone with the initials L.O. You inspect the crates in the northwestern corner and find a trapdoor underneath. The note was written by Liam Orson, one of the councillors. He explains that one day the old king bought a flask from a stall in Lovekenge and began drinking from it, although it started to change him. The flask was cursed with some dark magic and he stopped being himself, saying bad things that he would do to the citizens. A group of people decided to kill him. Orson never wanted a throne, it was meant for Rose. You lock him up in the other room. Commander Fuller appears, and she feels betrayed. Councillor Andrew got into contact with a mage. The Archaeus mage gave them a curse that would stop Rose from revealing the truth, but it also destroyed her mind. This mage is also the one who instructed them to kill the king. He is believed to live in the Temple of the Lizardmen. In Mulch, you descend into the Lizardmen Temple and speak to Cat Balam. He's tired of the war against humans and wishes to escape. He'll give you the key to access the mage if you bring him his last egg first. On the island with several piles of eggs, a lizardman brute appears as you take Cat Balam's last one, and then he gives you the damp key which opens the door that leads to a gate. You overhear a conversation between 2 figures. One is Shamfer and the other is Veos. Shamfer appears to be obeying Veos' instructions, and it is revealed that Shamfer planted the items in the X marks the spot quest. This led to Veos going to the Great Koren, and it is where he eventually had his mind taken over. Shamfer has been working from the shadows, controlling the council, to plant a device that redirected the dark energy from the Dark Altar. This was used to cause the volcanic explosion, which drew the possessed Veos in a trance earlier. Veos and Shamfer were aware that you were eavesdropping, and after Veos leaves, you're teleported into Shamfer's room. He can't let you leave alive, so you fight. Right as you defeat Shamfer, he releases a bolt of lightning which knocks you out. You eventually wake up and search the northern table, finding a note reminding Councillor Andrews who gave him the throne. Andrews has been in on this from the start, and also knows that Rose still lives. The note mentions the device that was placed next to the altar, as in the Ascent of Archaeus quest, plus the remote grave of a Shazian general. this would be referring to the coffin in that same quest. His resurrection and moving away was a test of the dark energy. As for Rose, the poison that she's been given completely destroyed her mind. Even if they were to extend her life with the power of Arceus, it would only prolong her suffering, so she's put out of her misery. Commander Fuller now realizes that all her time working as the commander of the Kourend Council has been a lie. She spent her life serving a bunch of murderers who turned away the truth. Now it's time to unite the 5 houses of the Great Kourend and get rid of the Council. You speak to Lord Trobin Arceus, asking him to meet at Xeric's Lookout, same for Lord Kanda Hasidius, Lady Volcana Lovakenge, Lady Shauna Piscarilius, and Lord Shiro Shazian. At Xeric's Lookout, the heads of each house unite, and you explain everything. Councillor Andrews plotted with a mage called Shamfer to kill the king. Shamfer cursed the king so that Councillor Andrews had an argument to get the others on board. Rose overheard the conversation. It is arguable that this could have been part of Councillor Andrews' intentions. The council has to be replaced by someone, but who can they choose to be a king? Lord Kanda Hasidius shows the Royal Accord of Twill from the Depths of Despair quest. This could be used for everyone to have a chance to rule the kingdom. Each head of the house isn't entirely convinced at the moment, so it's up to you to help convince them. Lord Trobin says that Xeric was assisted by a loyal servant of the name Shamfer. He thinks that if the energy channeled through the device at the Dark Altar has similar readings to that of Mount Quidamortum, then this could be confirmed. The Tasakal are able to read this energy. Kanda Hasidius only needs one final preparation before he's ready to sign the accord. He explains how only him and Lord Shazian are the only ones interested in ruling, and that the Shazians haven't been the best rulers in the past due to their tendency for war. He would like to know what Lord Shazian was up to recently in the Kourend woodlands when he was visiting the barbarian camp. Lord Hasidius is married to Shiro Shazian's sister. Shiro appears to want to blame Phileas's house trashing on Lord Hasidius, claiming he is also holding on to Phileas's journal that he received during the Tale of the Righteous quest. He says that the journal can be found in his private office underneath the Hasidius vinery. Lady Lovakenge doesn't believe that Councillor Unkar is involved. If you can find proof that he is, she will sign the Royal Accord of Twill. Lady Piscarilius only wants to let the vote happen by the citizens of the island of Kourend instead of just the heads of each house. If it's what the people of the island want, then she would have to support it. She also wants the leader of the cult of Yama to die, as to cut the snake at its head. Mori from Arceus may be able to help as she's been investigating the disciples of Yama. Commander Fuller says that the trick to prove that Councillor Unkar is corrupt is to speak to Martin Holt, as he has information on all of the heads of the houses. He's currently being held in the prison just west of the Shazian camp. The person that normally updates Martin Holt on Unkar's dealings is going to be at a meeting soon, and since Martin is currently in a prison cell, he says that you can go to him on his behalf and see if you can learn anything about this. He tells you the passcode, and you speak to a dwarf at the graveyard here in Shazian named Jorah. You say the secret passphrase, and just as he's about to reveal some information, another assassin appears, marking him for death. Once that's dealt with, Jorah gives you a declaration, signed by the current council, stating that they think Lady Volcana is no longer fit for rule, and that Councillor Unkar should take her place. This reveals that they had a plot to make a councillor the ruler of Lovakenge. On Mount Carol, you speak to the Tasakal, showing them the strange device. They say that the Dark Altar powers the doors of Din. The strange device has a force of shadows, which they confirm comes from Shamfer, and an energy touched by fire, which could be from the pyromancers. To prevent further sabotage, they recommend you add some volcanic sulfur to a defense potion, and then they enchant it. This is poured on the doors of Din. At the barbarian camp, you climb down the ladder, and Phileas Rimmel is there. A barbarian warlord tries to stop you, but you defeat him. Phileas tells you that the barbarians raided his home and took him as prisoner. He believes that the barbarians were paid to do it, but at this moment we don't know by whom. At the Arceus Church you talk to Mori. The disciples of Yama used to be known as the Disciples of Chaos. This is only a recent discovery, as Yama is not yet physically present on the island of Kourend. The disciples are being controlled by the voice of Yama. A device similar to the one that was redirecting energy from the Dark Altar could be used to block the signal coming from Yama. All Mori needs is a molten glass and a dark essence block. This dark nullifier has to be hidden in the Chasm of Fire. The disciples of Yama say that they foresaw your arrival and that you have a device. Suddenly you feel tired and fall asleep, a strange energy coming over you. You wake up fully convinced that the device is hidden and won't be a problem anymore. At the Hasidius Vinery, you inspect the eastern barrel and find a secret passage. You climb into it, entering a secret office. Here there's a chest which you picklock, and then you find an old journal which is bound shut. You update Trobin, confirming that the energy is the same as the one that serves Zarek, and that the pyromancers could have been involved in the sabotage of the Doors of Din. Which pyromancer is not yet known. Also, you mentioned that Shamfer is going to meet Zarek in the south, which could be referring to the kingdom of Valamor. Lord Trobin says he'll sign the Accord of Twill, although he has no desire to rule. You update Hasidius, saying that Filius Rimor needs to be saved, and it is believed that King Shazian VII eventually became Zarek, and Lord Shiro Shazian doesn't want any evidence that Zarek could have been part of his family. Hasidius will send a rescue mission for Filius, and he's ready to sign the Accord of Twill. You give the journal to Lord Shazian, and he's ready to sign the Accord too. The declaration is shown to Lady Loverkenge. She now understands Councillor Unkar's true intentions, and is ready to sign the Accord of Twill, although she isn't interested in taking the throne. You update Lady Shauna, saying you planted a device that will deal with the disciples of Yama. She won't take the throne, but she will sign the Accord. As you're about to update Commander Fullor, Councillor Olsen is found dead, mangled, as if fallen from the top of the lookout. The heads of the house gather one final time downstairs. Lord Shazian and Hasidius enter late. Lord Trobin is happy to advise the next king. Shauna Piscarelius believes the people should have a vote. Lady Loverkenge will sign the Accord. Lord Shazian wants to make a few changes to the Accord, but surprisingly doesn't want to take the throne, stating he would be better focused on protecting Kourend. He delegates his vote to Lord Hasidius. And all of the heads of the houses agree. The Accord is now called Rose's Accord. Commander Fullor is confused why Lord Shazian wouldn't offer himself for the role. Kanda knew it would always come down to him or Lord Shazian. He saw what Lord Shazian was doing with Filius, contracting the barbarians and planting the journal in his office. Kanda is the one who was able to acquire the original journal of King Shazian VII. He knew it would be able to discredit Lord Shazian and his family. It was him who sent the parcel. Kanda Hasidius told Shiro that he could either pick between supporting him or being exposed. And if the truth about Filius came out, the support of his people would have been lost as well as his reputation. In the end, he didn't need to discredit him. The copy of the journal that Filius was sent had some bits removed, and Kanda Hasidius still holds on to the original. As Lord Shiro knew that Kanda had the original journal, he asked for you to steal it, but this one was also a fake, and a real one is somewhere much safer. With this convenient set of circumstances, Lord Kanda Hasidius has solidified himself as the ruler of Kourend. Before any protests break out, the head of the houses enter the castle, and Councillor Andrews and Councillor Unkar are arrested. At the crowning ceremony, Martin Holt is glad that there is finally a king again, and that the council are no longer in power. There was even a vote that Lady Piscarelius had suggested, and as Lord Kanda was already popular in the kingdom, he got to hold on to his position as an elected king. Lord Trobin Archaeus has researched the remains of Shamfer's lair, and discovered spells and potions that were being worked on. Commander Fullor points out that Queen Xianyi Arkhan, the Sun Queen and ruler of Valamor, is having her first visit to Kourend. The king wanted to put an end to the animosity between the two kingdoms, and she feels the same way. Her royal guards, the Qualti, are with her. The king makes a speech, congratulating you, Martin Holt and Lydia Fullor. Then he speaks with you in private, saying that you'll be called on once again when they discover more about Shamfer. You go back downstairs to enjoy the party, but the king is assassinated. His son Arthur Hasidius is now the king of Great Kourend. They only had a small celebration to bring him in. The murder weapon was sent over to Loverkenge to be examined, and Commander Fullor gives you a reward for all your help, the Book of the Dead, an antique lamp, and some more archaic spells. Join me next time where I'll explain the lore behind the Path of Glufri. I hope you're not as confused as I am, and I hope I did a good job summarising all of that because that was complicated. Good job, Moded and team, on writing all of that, you crazy bastards. Alright, thank you for watching.